to order at 7:10 on May the 2nd. We'll have the roll call.
Mr. Bowman. Here. Mr. Gillen here. Mr. Castle.
Here.
Mr. Dussault.
Here.
Mr. Card.
Here.
For him.
Thank you. We'll move into the reports. Does everyone, there are agendas up here on the table if you don't have a copy of that, if you'd like to follow along with what we're doing at the, where the podium's at. So anybody that doesn't have it. We'll move on to the Secretary's reports and the approval of SOAP. Has everybody read those are available on the Township's website? Has everyone on the Planning Commission read a copy of that, of the May 19th, or excuse me, May 4th meeting? April. Okay. The April 4th regular meeting and also the May 19th special meeting. April 19th, yes. I'm trying to skip ahead here.
Mike's sake, over here. Bench doing
No, we'll do the April 4th first.
Make a motion to accept the April 4th minutes as presented.
Is there a second? Support. It's been moved by Castle, supported by Bowman to accept the April 4th minutes from the regular Planning Commission. Is there any discussion on this motion? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passed. We'll move on to the April 19th special meeting. This was by Vice Chairman Gary Castle was the secretary for the night. Gary, would you like to read your own?
On April 19th, 2011, the special meeting of the Riga Planning Commission was called to order by Chairman R. Rich Card at 7:04 p.m. at the Riga Township Hall. Roll call was taken and the members present as noted. P. Dussault, R. Card, G. Castle, and P. Bowman. Members absent was D. Gillen. Two PowerPoint presentations were made, one by Peter H. Gutenberger of Tech Environmental, Goldberg, and the other by Richard R. James, Associates of Okemos, Michigan. The topic was low frequency sound and the effect it has on human health. The question and answer session followed, first by the board and second by the audience. The motion by Gary Castle, seconded by B. Bowman to adjourn the meeting at 10:05 p.m. Motion carried.
Having heard the minutes read, is there any discussion on this? If not, I entertain a motion to accept them as presented.
So moved. Support.
Been moved by Bowman, supported by Dussault, that we accept the minutes as presented. Any discussion on this? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved as presented. Moving on to communication received and to be recorded. And I have three different pieces here. I should have 4, but in my haste to leave home, I'm sorry I left the presentation of Peter Goldberg as he presented that the night on April 19th. It's home on my desk, so there should be 4. I have 3 pieces, 4 people. I have 3 pieces to present. There's 2 more. Also in that pile of things I did not bring was a letter from Mr. Haydinger, also a letter to the Township Board. We will make sure that those get put into the on the record for our meetings at the next meeting. I have it was a proposal proposed change from WLMB to put in the record. This is presented by Jamie Schmitz, and we'll put that, take that under advisement. I have a copy of the draft that the IICC presented. Josh Nolan presented this on 4/26. Put that in the record too. And the last one is a letter I received today, dated April 28th, from Powers, Chapman, D'Agostino, Myers, and Milna, attorneys, counselors, professional corporation, Troy, Michigan. This is in regards letter. They're representing the Paul and Marcia Pasternak. We'll put that in our record also. So at this time, I'd ask that I'd entertain a motion to put these as part of our official record for this meeting tonight.
Support.
It's been moved by Duso, supported by Castle. We put these as in our official archives of things that we've received. Is there any discussion on this motion? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Moving on to the planning administrator's report. I have the report from Gary Weiss before me, and it was dated that in the month of April he had permit activities. He had 2 permits that he issued, and then his expenses for those 2 permits. He collected $200. One of them was from Dewey Wind, and that was for the Met Tower that they put up over on Thompson Highway. And the other one is for Mr. Martinez for a building of some kind. I guess the thing that Gary was not going to be able to be here tonight, but I asked him the question about the Dewey Wind, and he said that was for the Met Tower. That had slipped through the cracks and had never been inspected. And on the 4th of April, he went out and did that, and they paid their $100 fee for that. So that's his presentation at this time. Moving on, as per usual, this is our regular monthly planning commission meeting, and this is where I ask, is there any public request for zoning issues other than the wind ordinance? Does anybody have anything they'd like to bring up, variances, building permits, anything that the planning commission could help someone has a problem with? If not, we'll move on to the new business, and that's making further adjustments to the draft ordinance. We have before us the latest edition of all the updates of the draft ordinance, and Mr. Homier has given us copies of this because it's still in the draft form. We didn't print enough copies to give those out tonight, but we have it on the screen here, and we'll try to be screening and talking at the same time we're doing this. Hopefully we can multitask, and I won't get lost, or you won't get lost in the process. So with that, Mike, would you like to start off by?
Sure. What I've given you is a red line version, or in some cases blue or purple, depending on the color. But a red line version incorporating those changes that we discussed at the last planning commission. So I don't intend to revisit all of the text, only those portions that are highlighted in red. So, Reg, if you can scroll down to page 4. The first change is under the general requirements for on-site towers. And that change is highlighted in red. This has to do with the private or non-publicly owned airports located within the township. There's a general requirement that any on-site West or Met towers have to comply with all state, federal, and local laws and regulations, including but not limited to the applicable requirements of the Federal Aviation Administration, the Michigan Airport Zoning Act, and the Michigan Tall Structures Act, both prior to and after installation. It's this next highlighted portion that we've added, that no on-site West or Met tower shall be located on any property in such a manner as to interfere with the safe takeoff, approach, and landing of aircraft at any non-publicly owned airport as defined by the Michigan Airport Zoning Act as amended. So the reference to the Michigan Airport Zoning Act is for the definition of airport. There are two definitions in that statute, one applicable to all airports and others applicable to publicly owned. And this is intended to be reviewed, obviously, as part of the application and siting of towers. Well, I suppose that we can, if you've got any questions with them, we can discuss them now as we go through them. That's probably the best way to do it.
Well, this Airport Act, I would like to give the knowledge that I gained, and I hope that Mike Godden doesn't, oh, Mike's here, okay. So Mike, as I go and give my spiel, hopefully it's the same one that you and I talked about the other day, and how I think that this need, people, to help people understand, to gain some knowledge on airplanes and flights that, we're trying to regulate, or protect, or make sure that, they can have their use of their grass strips now and in the future. And I think the thing that I would like to start out and say with about this is that I didn't realize that when you have a plane, you as the pilot have a lot of issues on getting off the ground, taking your flight, and then coming back and landing and be in the same condition that you when you first left. And that's probably the sign of a good pilot if he can show up after he's taken off. So, but the thing that Mike wanted to tell me, and he left some information with me on flight out of his flight manuals, and I think it's good that we look at the people that are using grass strips now in the township, because they've used them in years prior to this, but to get an understanding when they talk about a safe takeoff, an approach, and a landing, that in Mike's case, because he has a smaller plane with not as much horsepower, that he is forced to fly into the wind on both takeoff and landing, which, am I right there, Mike?
Yes, but it really has nothing to do with my size plane. That's unless you were a 747, that's just the nature of aircraft.
Okay, okay. So, and then the reason that the jets can land on a certain, the tower can tell them, okay, you take, landing strip or landing path A or B or 105 or however they number them, and because they have the power of the weight, they can put that down, and they have, an exorbitant amount of safety built in, so their runways are extremely long. In the case of, like local people that have smaller planes, they don't have that luxury of having 8 or 9 or 10,000, or I don't even know how long the runways are, but you can see, given enough runway, you can put anything down with horsepower and weight. So that's the one thing, that impressed me, that Mike says that as you come in, do you